I've earned 30 plus certifications, and I'm here to guide you to success on your exam. Welcome to the Ultimate AZ-204 Exam Masterclass. Are you ready to crack the AZ-204 exam in one go? You're in the right place. In this session, we'll arm you with powerful insights and hand-picked questions that can make all the difference in your exam performance. We've scanned the web using intelligent crawlers to gather the most critical and high-impact questions, all compiled into one powerful PDF resource. You can download it from the link in the description. Not only will we explore these must-practice questions, but we'll also share real exam experiences and pro tips to give you that competitive edge. Let's dive into the key questions that could shape your success. Question 1. You have an Azure Service Bus namespace with a partition queue named Q1. You plan to send a large number of messages through Q1 over the next few weeks. The order of messages will be random. You must minimize the possibility of message transmission interruption by transient failures of individual partitions. You need to use the optimal configuration of the partition key in the messages. Which configuration should you use? A. Set the partition key of messages to the message ID value. B. Enable sessions. Set the partition key of messages to the session ID value. C. Enable sessions. Ensure that the partition key is different from the session ID value. D. Leave the partition key value as null. Correct answer B. Enable sessions. Set the partition key of messages to the session ID value. Explanation. Using the session ID as the partition key distributes messages evenly across partitions. This reduces the chance of message disruption from a single partition failure. Question 2. You are developing several microservices to run on Azure Container Apps for a company. External TCP ingress traffic from the Internet has been enabled for the microservices. The company requires that the microservices must scale based on an Azure Event Hub trigger. You need to scale the microservices by using a custom scaling rule. Which two Kubernetes event-driven auto-scaling (KEDA) trigger fields should you use? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note: each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Metadata. B. Type. C. Authentication ref. D. Name. E. Metric type. Correct answer A and B. Metadata. Type. Explanation. The trigger type defines the scaling source and metadata holds the trigger parameters. Both are required for scaling from Event Hub events. Question 3. You develop a solution that uses Azure Virtual Machines (VMs). The VMs contain code that must access resources in an Azure resource group. You grant the VM access to the resource group in Resource Manager. You need to obtain an access token that uses the VM's system-assigned managed identity. Which two actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. A. From the code on the VM, call Azure Resource Manager using an access token. B. Use PowerShell on a remote machine to make a request to the local managed identity for Azure Resources endpoint. C. Use PowerShell on the VM to make a request to the local managed identity for Azure Resources endpoint. D. From the code on the VM, call Azure Resource Manager using a SAS token. E. From the code on the VM, generate a user delegation SAS token. Correct answer A and C. From the code on the VM, call Azure Resource Manager using an access token. Use PowerShell on the VM to make a request to the local managed identity for Azure Resources endpoint. Explanation. First, request a token from the VM's local managed identity endpoint. Then use that token in your code to call Azure Resource Manager securely. Question 4. You are developing a road tollway tracking application that sends tracking events by using Azure Event Hubs using Premium tier. Each road must have a throttling policy uniquely assigned. You need to configure the Event Hub to allow for per-road throttling. What should you do? A. Use a unique consumer group for each road. B. Ensure each road stores events in a different partition. C. Ensure each road has a unique connection string. D. Use a unique application group for each road. Correct answer D. Use a unique application group for each road. Explanation. Application groups in Event Hub's Premium allow separate throttling settings per group. Assigning one per road enables individual rate limits. Question 5. You are building a loyalty program for a major snack producer. When customers buy a snack at any of 100 participating retailers, the event is recorded in Azure Event Hub. Each retailer is given a unique identifier that is used as the primary identifier for the loyalty program. Retailers must be able to be added or removed at any time. Retailers must only be able to record sales for themselves. You need to ensure that retailers can record sales. What should you do? A. Use publisher policies for retailers. B. Create a partition for each retailer. C. Define a namespace for each retailer. Correct answer A. Use publisher policies for retailers. Explanation. Publisher policies allow retailers to send events with their own identity. This enforces that each can only publish for themselves. Question 6. You are creating an app that will use Cosmos DB for data storage. The app will process batches of relational data. You need to select an API for the app. Which API should you use? A. MongoDB API. B. Table API. C. SQL API. D. Cassandra API. Correct answer, C. SQL API. Explanation. The SQL API in Cosmos DB supports structured queries and joins. It's ideal for working with relational-style data batches. Question 7. You are developing an e-commerce solution that uses a microservice architecture. You need to design a communication backplane for communicating transactional messages between various parts of the solution. Messages must be communicated in first in first out, FIFO, order. What should you use? A. Azure Storage Queue. B. Azure Event Hub. C. Azure Service Bus. D. Azure Event Grid. Correct answer, C. Azure Service Bus. Explanation. Azure Service Bus supports FIFO delivery and transactional messaging. This ensures ordered message processing for critical workflows. Question 8. You are developing a solution that will use Azure messaging services. You need to ensure that the solution uses a publish-subscribe model and eliminates the need for constant polling. What are two possible ways to achieve the goal? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Service Bus. B. Event Hub. C. Event Grid. D. Queue. Correct answer A and C. Service Bus. Event Grid. Explanation. Service Bus topics and Event Grid push messages to subscribers. Both enable publish-subscribe without constant polling. Question 9. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Application Insights resource named AI1 and an Azure App Service web app named App1. You create a standard availability test in AI1. You set its URL to point to App1. You need to ensure that any failed tests generate email notifications to the owners of the subscription. What should you do? A. Create an action group. B. Create an alert rule. C. Enable the test. D. Enable the alert. Correct answer B. Create an alert rule. Explanation. An alert rule connects the test results to a notification action. This ensures failures trigger emails to subscription owners. Question 10. You have two Hyper-V hosts named Host 1 and Host 2. Host 1 has an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that was deployed by using a custom Azure Resource Manager template. You need to move VM1 to host 2. What should you do? A. From the Update Management blade, click Enable. B. From the Overview blade, move VM1 to a different subscription. C. From the Redeploy blade, click Redeploy. D. From the Profile blade, modify the usage location. Correct answer, C. From the Redeploy blade, click Redeploy. Explanation: Redeploy moves the VM to a new host while preserving its configuration. This allows migration between Hyper-V hosts. Question 11. Your company has an Azure Kubernetes Service (AKS) cluster that you manage from an Azure AD joined device. The cluster is located in a resource group. Developers have created an application named MyApp. MyApp was packaged into a container image. You need to deploy the YAML manifest file for the application. Solution: you install the Azure CLI on the device and run the kubectl apply fmyapp.yaml command. Does this meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer A. Yes. Explanation: installing Azure CLI and using kubectl apply with the YAML manifest successfully deploys the application to AKS. Question 12. Your company has an Azure Kubernetes Service (AKS) cluster that you manage from an Azure AD joined device. The cluster is located in a resource group. Developers have created an application named MyApp. MyApp was packaged into a container image. You need to deploy the YAML manifest file for the application. Solution: you install the Docker client on the device and run the Docker run at Microsoft/Azure CLI 0.10.17 command. Does this meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer B. No. Explanation: the Docker client alone cannot deploy to AKS. You need Kubernetes CLI, kubectl, to apply YAML manifests. Question 13. Your company has a web app named WebApp1. You use the WebJobs SDK to design a triggered app service background task that automatically invokes a function in the code every time new data is received in a queue. You are preparing to configure the service that processes a queue data item. Which of the following is the service you should use? A. Logic apps. B. WebJobs. C. Flow. D. Functions. Correct answer B. WebJobs. Explanation: WebJobs runs background tasks in Azure Apps Service. It can trigger functions when new queue messages arrive. Question 14. Your company has an Azure subscription. You need to deploy a number of Azure virtual machines to the subscription by using Azure Resource Manager (ARM) templates. The virtual machines will be included in a single availability set. You need to ensure that the ARM template allows for as many virtual machines as possible to remain accessible in the event of fabric failure or maintenance. Which of the following is the value that you should configure for the platform fault domain count property? A. 10. B. 30. C. Min value. D. Max value. Correct answer D. Max value. Explanation: setting platform fault domain count to the maximum value maximizes fault tolerance. This helps keep the most VMs running during failures. Question 15. Your company has an Azure subscription. You need to deploy a number of Azure virtual machines to the subscription by using Azure Resource Manager (ARM) templates. The virtual machines will be included in a single availability set. You need to ensure that the ARM template allows for as many virtual machines as possible to remain accessible in the event of fabric failure or maintenance. Which of the following is the value that you should configure for the platform update domain count property? A. 10. B. 20. C. 30. D. 40. Correct answer B. 20. Explanation: Setting platform update domain count to 20 spreads updates across domains. This minimizes downtime during maintenance. Question 16. This question requires that you evaluate the underlying text to determine if it is correct. Your company has an on-premises deployment of MongoDB and an Azure Cosmos DB account that makes use of the MongoDB API. You need to devise a strategy to migrate MongoDB to the Azure Cosmos DB account. You include the Data Management Gateway tool in your migration strategy. Instructions: review the underlying text. If it makes the statement correct, select No change required. If the statement is incorrect, select the answer choice that makes the statement correct. A. No change required. B. MongoStore. C. Azure Storage Explorer. D. AZ-copy. Correct answer B. MongoStore. Explanation: MongoStore is the correct tool for migrating MongoDB data to Cosmos DB using the MongoDB API. Data Management Gateway is not used here. Question 17. You are developing an e-commerce web app. You want to use Azure Key Vault to ensure that sign-ins to the e-commerce web app are secured by using Azure App Service Authentication and Azure Active Directory (AAD). What should you do on the e-commerce web app? A. Run the AZ Key Vault secret command. B. Enable Azure AD Connect. C. Enable Managed Service Identity (MSI). D. Create an Azure AD Service Principal. Correct answer C. Enable Managed Service Identity (MSI). Explanation: enabling Managed Service Identity lets the app access Key Vault without storing credentials. This improves security and simplifies authentication. Question 18. This question requires that you evaluate the underlying text to determine if it is correct. Your Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, tenant has an Azure subscription linked to it. Your developer has created a mobile application that obtains Azure AD access tokens using the OAuth 2 implicit grant type. The mobile application must be registered in Azure AD. You require a redirect URI from the developer for registration purposes. Instructions: review the underlying text. If it makes the statement correct, select No change is needed. If the statement is incorrect, select the answer choice that makes the statement correct. A. No change required. B. A secret. C. A login hint. D. A client ID. Correct answer A. No change required. Explanation: OAuth 2 implicit grant requires a redirect URI during Azure AD app registration. The statement is already correct. Question 19. You are creating an Azure Key Vault using PowerShell. Objects deleted from the Key Vault must be kept for a set period of 90 days. Which two of the following parameters must be used in conjunction to meet the requirement? Choose two. A. Enabled for deployment. B. Enable purge protection. C. Enabled for template deployment. D. Enable soft delete. Correct answer B and D. Enable purge protection. Enable soft delete. Explanation: soft delete allows recovery of deleted objects. Purge protection prevents permanent deletion before the retention period ends. Question 20. You manage an Azure SQL database that allows for Azure AD authentication. You need to make sure that database developers can connect to the SQL database via Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS. You also need to make sure the developers use their on-premises Active Directory account for authentication. Your strategy should allow for authentication prompts to be kept to a minimum. Which of the following should you implement? A. Azure AD Token. B. Azure Multi-Factor Authentication. C. Active Directory Integrated Authentication. D. OETH Software Tokens. Correct answer C. Active Directory Integrated Authentication. Explanation: Active Directory integrated authentication uses existing AD credentials. This avoids repeated login prompts for developers. Question 21. You are developing an application to transfer data between on-premises file servers and Azure Blob Storage. The application stores keys, secrets, and certificates in Azure Key Vault and makes use of the Azure Key Vault APIs. You want to configure the application to allow recovery of an accidental deletion of the Key Vault or Key Vault objects for 90 days after deletion. What should you do? A. Run the add AZ Key Vault key complete. B. Run the AZ Key Vault update enable soft delete true enable purge protection true CLI. C. Implement virtual network service endpoints for Azure Key Vault. D. Run the AZ Key Vault update enable soft delete false CLI. Correct answer B. Run the AZ Key Vault update enable soft delete true enable purge protection true CLI. Explanation. Enabling soft delete and purge protection keeps deleted objects recoverable for 90 days. This prevents accidental permanent loss. Question 22. The question is included in a number of questions that depicts the identical setup. However, every question has a distinctive result. Establish if the solution satisfies the requirements. You are configuring a web app that delivers streaming video to users. The application makes use of continuous integration and deployment. You need to ensure that the application is highly available and that the user's streaming experience is constant. You also want to configure the application to store data in a geographic location that is nearest to the user. Solution: you include the use of a Storage Area Network (SAN) in your design. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer B. No. Explanation. A SAN does not provide geographic redundancy or global distribution. It cannot ensure high availability across multiple regions. Question 23. You develop a web app on a Tier D1 app service plan. You notice that page load times increase during periods of peak traffic. You want to implement automatic scaling when CPU load is above 80%. Your solution must minimize costs. What should you do first? A. Enable auto-scaling on the web app. B. Switch to the Premium App Service Tier plan. C. Switch to the Standard App Service Tier plan. D. Switch to the Azure App Services Consumption plan. Correct answer C. Switch to the Standard App Service Tier plan. Explanation. The Standard tier supports auto-scaling based on CPU load. It's more cost-efficient than Premium for this requirement. Question 24. You have two Hyper-V hosts named Host 1 and Host 2. Host 1 has an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that was deployed by using a custom Azure Resource Manager template. You need to move VM1 to Host 2. What should you do? A. From the Update Management blade, click Enable. B. From the Overview blade, move VM1 to a different subscription. C. From the Redeploy blade, click Redeploy. D. From the Profile blade, modify the usage location. Correct answer C. From the Redeploy blade, click Redeploy. Explanation. Redeploying moves the VM to another host while retaining its setup. This enables migration from Host 1 to Host 2. Question 25. You are developing a .NET Core MVC application that allows customers to research independent holiday accommodation providers. You want to implement Azure Search to allow the application to search the index by using various criteria to locate documents related to accommodation. You want the application to allow customers to search the index by using regular expressions. What should you do? A. Configure the search mode property of the search parameters class. B. Configure the query type property of the search parameters class. C. Configure the facets property of the search parameters class. D. Configure the filter property of the search parameters class. Correct answer B. Configure the query type property of the search parameters class. Explanation. The query type property set to full enables regex search. This allows advanced pattern-based searches in Azure Search. Question 26. You are a developer at your company. You need to update the definitions for an existing logic app. What should you use? A. The Enterprise Integration Pack (EIP). B. The Logic App Code View. C. The API Connections. D. The Logic Apps Designer. Correct answer B. The Logic App Code View. Explanation. Code View allows direct editing of the Logic App JSON definition. This is useful for updating workflows in detail. Question 27. You are developing a .NET Core MVC application that allows customers to research independent holiday accommodation providers. You want to implement Azure Search to allow the application to search the index by using various criteria to locate documents related to accommodation venues. You want the application to list holiday accommodation venues that fall within a specific price range and are within a specified distance to an airport. What should you do? A. Configure the search mode property of the search parameters class. B. Configure the query type property of the search parameters class. C. Configure the facets property of the search parameters class. D. Configure the filter property of the search parameters class. Correct answer D. Configure the filter property of the search parameters class. Explanation. The filter property limits results based on specific conditions. This supports filtering by price and distance to an airport. Question 28. You are a developer at your company. You need to edit the workflows for an existing logic app. What should you use? A. The Enterprise Integration Pack (EIP). B. The Logic App Code View. C. The API Connections. D. The Logic Apps Designer. Correct answer D. The Logic Apps Designer. Explanation. The Logic Apps Designer provides a visual interface. It allows easy editing of workflows without coding JSON directly. Question 29. You have a standard tier instance of Azure Cache for Redis named Redis 1 configured with the default settings. You need to configure a max memory policy to increase the amount of cache available for read operations. How should you configure the max memory policy? A. Decrease the value of max memory reserved. B. Increase the value of max memory reserved. C. Set the max memory policy to no eviction. D. Set the max memory policy to volatile. Correct answer A. Decrease the value of max memory reserved. Explanation. Lowering max memory reserved frees more memory for general caching. This increases space available for read operations. Question 30. You develop a web application that sells access to last-minute openings for child camps that run on the weekends. The application uses Azure Application Insights for all alerting and monitoring. The application must alert operators when a technical issue is preventing sales to camps. You need to build an alert to detect technical issues. Which alert type should you use? A. Metric alert using multiple time series. B. Metric alert using dynamic thresholds. C. Log alert using multiple time series. D. Log alert using dynamic thresholds. Correct answer B. Metric alert using dynamic thresholds. Explanation. Dynamic threshold metric alerts adjust to normal behavior patterns. This helps detect unusual issues affecting sales quickly. Please revise full PDF 2 to 3 times for 100% success. Check the description for the PDF download link and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for upcoming episodes. Thank you.